Well, howdy, folks. How's she going today? I hope you're all doing really good. Well, we got a seagull here with a buzz. I wonder what that got into. Anyway, this one belongs to the old man. I was with him when he bought this guitar at a local shop, and it's a really nice sounding guitar. So let's take a peek, see what's going on. Okie doke. Well, I haven't seen this one for quite a while. This has got a spruce top. I believe this is cherry back and sides, pretty sure. It's got a kind of a satin finish, not really dull. It does have a little bit of a shine to it. That could be just from playing and, keeping the guitar clean. So let's see what's going on and see if we can figure this one out. Okay, well, I get to try out the new shop stool here. Nice and comfy, that's for sure. Anyway, let's see what it sounds like here. Lot of ring. It's got kind of a bright sound to it, kind of in between like bright and mellow. All right, let's see where the buzz is. Okay, I can hear it already. Ooh. Okay, it's starting to go away. Now the neck's pretty good right where it is. I checked the relief just real quick by eye when it showed up, and it looked pretty good. But any thoughts? My thoughts instantly are there's a high fret. No pun intended. Isn't that weird? You get a buzz when it's a high fret. I guess you get one with a low fret too. I don't know. I just kind of noticed that. But now it is clearing up. Let's check the G. Same thing. Clears up a little. That one still buzzes right up to the 12th. Bit of buzz there. Okay, so really solid guitar. Usually I can make the get that kind of chorusy effect by just wiggling my arm. If you guys see me doing that, there's nothing wrong with me. Well, there is, but it's not that. I can kind of wiggle it, but it's really solid. Well built. Made in Canada. Very cool guitar, really, honestly. And it sounds really, really nice. I mean, it's got all the stuff as far as an acoustic. Really depends on where you're strumming, obviously, but right in the middle of the sound hole, it's really rich. Really cuts through there too. This would make a good bluegrass guitar, I think, in my opinion. All right, so let's see what's going on and check it with a fret rocker. And that's going to be my guess. There's going to be a high fret here somewhere. And, this happens. We live in Maine, and the humidity and temperature is quite drastic from one season to the next. So you really have to pay attention to acoustic guitars. I know some of the viewers in Canada will agree with me too. It's the same kind of thing. Anywhere, where you have extreme, ranges in temperature and humidity, it's going to do it. You really have to keep an eye on this stuff. And my father's definitely a professional at that. He's all over his guitars. He really takes a close look at them constantly to make sure that nothing's moving. So I know it wasn't anything that he did, and I know he keeps a humidifier in his room in the winter and tries to keep everything even. He keeps them in the cases too. So, you know, it can happen over time, and even honestly, this is also my opinion, but when you don't play your guitar, let's say for a while, and you pick it up and it's got some forward bow in it, right? So you crank the truss rod up and you flatten everything back out. Well, if the frets aren't glued in, and I'm not sure if these are or not, I guess even if they are, sometimes it can happen. That movement, forward and backwards with the neck also moves the fretboard, and it also can open and close the fret slots, okay? And this is really my point. So, if they're not glued in and it's doing some wonky stuff, and you keep adjusting things and moving that, they can actually kind of pop up out of the slot, and that can happen. It can also happen just from good old playing. If you play your guitar and you're playing a lot of first position chords, then you can wear that fret wire out too. So we're going to take a look at that as well. Now, at first glance, it's got some fret wear. I can see some of the frets are kind of flat here, and I know this has been played a ton, so it could be that, but I'm guessing, like I said, either something has lifted or it's just flat footing across the fret that's worn really bad. And, it can be a lot of different things. So, like I said, let's get the fret rocker out, and that'll tell the story. Here we go. Okay, let's take a close look at the frets here. Sorry about that drastic movement. You can see they're a little flat on the top. They could surely use a little crowning. That's just from play wear. Not a big deal. Let's check the height. Okie doke. Well, let's start right on the first 3 frets down by the nut here. Now, I check it on the outside of the strings too. You want to check it where the strings ride too. Sometimes they'll be seated on the ends, and they might be seated all the way across the middle, and there'll be a high spot right in one little spot. I've seen that. I'm really not sure how that happens, but okay, barely rocking right there on the 2nd fret. Nothing major. I mean, I almost think that would be okay, although it's better to have no rock, right? Let's check the next set here. Okay, those feel pretty good. Let's move up. Okay, here we go. So that one's got a pretty pronounced rock. Okay, so I'll check that on the outside again. It must have been the next one. No, that one feels good. I think it's back here. Right there. So it's the 5th fret. So I got to remember that. All right, I'm going to keep moving down the line here. It may look like I'm rushing this, but I'm actually not. I just do it all the time, so. Those all feel good. Now usually down here towards the 12th fret and the body joint, that can be trouble usually. Those feel good though. Boy, I'll tell you, that's pretty good. All right, here we go. I knew it. Down by the body joint. Boy, that one's bad. Yeah, the next one. Let me jump ahead a couple. So, yeah, we've got two right here that I believe I know them are high, and one at the 5th fret. So, if you think about that, you got a high fret here, and you got a couple high frets here. Now, it was buzzing quite bad until we got up to about the 5th fret, and then it started to clean up a bit. And then the B string, if you remember, was buzzing pretty much all the way up to the body joint. So that tells me that that is quite high, which it is. And it even gets worse towards the treble side. I mean the bass side, excuse me. Let me check the one ahead of it. Let me check a couple ahead of it now. That still feels off. And the one that's high, you shouldn't really rock, the one next to it. If that's rocking, it could be that this one's a little bit out of whack. But so what I usually end up doing is I'll start with this one. I'm going to recrown these two, but I'll start on the 5th fret and get that level. Make sure your neck is completely flat when you do this. If you're working with a guitar with a truss rod, that's something you need to do. And if it doesn't have a truss rod, then you might want to introduce a neck jig. Anyway, we don't need to do that on this, so it's not a big deal. I'll address this one first, and these up here as well. Now, I'm not going to document this in this video. You guys have seen me do this at least, 50 times now. So I'm not going to go through all that. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn how to do that, go into my playlist. Just go into fret jobs, and there's a bunch of videos. There's refrets, there's stuff on high frets, crowning, all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to keep repeating my videos over and over for your sake and mine. I figured there's probably enough on there, to get the information out to the people anyway. All right, so that's something to think about, and this is more about description and kind of troubleshooting. So if you're getting fret buzz down in these first few frets, you should really check to see if you have a high fret somewhere or if they're just worn right flat, and that can make them buzz too. It's the same with the nut. If the nut slot is just flat and that string sits perfectly flat in there, it will buzz, and you can't get rid of it. That's why when you file your nut slots, you always have to taper them towards the headstock a little bit on an angle. Now, you don't have to go a ton. If you take too much, then it's going to wear out that slot faster, if you will. So you just take enough so it's not just flat footing in there. And, same on the saddle. That can't be just flat and, having the string just sit perfectly flat on it. It needs to come to some sort of a point there. Same with your fret wire. That's why they're crowned. If they were all flat, it would sound like a sitar or something. I don't know. It wouldn't be that enjoyable, I can tell you that. So, in any case, this one isn't too bad. We can straighten it out. The fret ends feel pretty good on this one. I got a couple down here that are poked out. And I'm going to look those over a little closer just to make sure they're seated well. There's one, the first and second ones are a little bit sharp there. Now, as I go back down this way, they feel pretty good. But we'll take care of anything that's sticking out so you can't feel it. And this one should be pretty simple. And hopefully, I'd say we got plenty of fret here, so I can recrown them. This has never been recrowned, so we should be good for at least once or twice. And, if he wears out these frets here in the first, 7 or 8 frets, then maybe someday we'll do a partial on it, or even refret the whole guitar. This almost looks like Martin wire, or at least the same dimensions as Martin uses. So I have a bunch of that here in the shop too. So I'll check that out as well. But I think we're going to be good to go. I don't think we need to refret anything, and just clean these up. Like I said, I'll probably get down through and recrown first, and then check them, and make sure everything rocks out nice and true, and put the strings back on it. Should be good to go. I honestly think some of it is play wear here too on these first positions. They are kind of flat, so you can't rule that out. But, I'm going to say 75% of the time, maybe 80, it's a high fret. And in this case, there's no question. Everything's buzzing down through this section. Once you get a couple frets up there, it kind of goes away. But as you get, closer down here, I noticed like the B and the G was starting to buzz, and that's probably due to these frets being high. So I need to check the rest of these out here on the runoff and see what's going on there. And I think it's going to be pretty simple to clean this one up, and should be good to go. Well, thanks for checking this out, folks. I thought this would be an interesting video, and at least let you guys get a chance to listen to these. They're very well made guitars, and made in Canada. So this is Robert Godin's company, I believe. Simon and Patrick, his two sons. They own multiple guitar companies, so I really can't spout them all off at once, but I have a couple early Simon and Patrick luthier guitars with serial numbers under 100. I think there's 74 and 84. And I remember Art and Luthery, Godin, Seagull. There might have been another company or two. You guys probably could plumb me up on that. But in any case, these aren't made in China or anything like that. These are very well constructed. I must say, this thing has not moved a millimeter since my father bought it. And I think they're great guitars, and I really like the sound of this one a lot. Well, thanks again, folks, for tuning in. And again, if you want to learn how to do this, go into my playlist, go into fret jobs, and have fun. Okay, we'll see you guys real soon. Be good. Okie doke.